Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Momentum Chat. I am Majida Bay, and I have just a brief show for you tonight. Unfortunately, my co-host and friend John won't be able to be with us this evening. He's feeling some pain, so let's keep him in prayer and hope that he has a speedy recovery. And so we are going to continue with our ABCs of Wealth series, week 24. Yields and year end. So grab a quick pen, pad, like this, share with a friend, and we'll get started in just a moment. Good evening once again. I am Majida Bay, your financial conductor, glorious queen mother, a lot of different names that I go by, but I'm here today to continue our series. We are wrapping up the end of this year. And this is week 24, so we skipped X, right? I couldn't think of nothing with X. I could have done excellence, and made the X capital, whatever, but we were on Y. So we got one more week to round out the alphabet for our series. And we're talking this week about yield and year end. So I won't be before you long, but I just wanted to share just a few ideas, ask a few questions for you to ponder, to assess where you are, where it is you want to be, and how do you bridge that gap. All right. So, in terms of yields, like what's a yield? And when I think of a yield, I think of it in terms of what's the return on your investment. Or we can look at it even a different way. When you plant a seed, what's the harvest that you hope to reap? All right. And so, in order to know what your yield is, first you got to plant, right? You got to make some deposits. But in addition to that, you also have to assess whether the deposits you're making are providing you a return. And I'll give this example. I put this in the description for this show that oftentimes we may make contributions to a retirement plan or some type of investment, but we don't assess whether the investment we're making is giving us a return, if it's yielding anything. And so that's really important because you could be making deposits into your 401k or into your IRA or into your savings account. And the only reason that balance goes up is because you keep making deposits, right? But something that you've hopefully learned through this series is that your money should be working for you. Your money should work as hard for you, if not harder than you do for it. Money's a tool. And so when we can utilize that tool and get it to work for us, then we should reap a harvest. We should have a return. So if you make a deposit into the bank or you make a deposit into your 401k or IRA, you should earn something from what the deposits you're making. And so if you're not getting a return, first you need to know whether you are or not, which means you need to assess. Most retirement accounts or investment accounts offer either a quarterly or some type of annual statement to let you know what your yield was, what your annual percentage yield was, right? You've probably seen that APY or APR. And so that tells you what your money earned. So that's the yield. And so if your money earned a positive return, then your money worked for you. But if your money had a negative return, then that's working against you. But if your money didn't do anything, then it's not maximizing its potential, right? As a tool. It's like having a lawnmower and it sits in the shed. Well, the usefulness of a lawnmower is to cut grass, right? And if you can position yourself to make money cutting grass, you can cut not only your lawn, but maybe your neighbor's lawn or a friend's lawn or a family member's lawn, right? And you could earn money from that, right? There's a return on that investment. You bought a lawnmower, and that lawnmower is now positioning you to be able to make money from it. It's the same thing with our money. Your money should yield something. And that's definitely a lesson that I've been learning, and being more aware of over this past year or two is, what am I investing in, and what is the return on that investment? And so I could invest, or I could spend money on things that don't yield a return. But something that I've learned is that you want to invest in income producing assets and use those assets to pay for your liabilities. So, what's an income producing asset? Something like real estate, right? Rental property, a business, right? Those are potential income producing assets, meaning it can generate more money from the money that you invested. Yes, baby. You want to join the show? Say hi. Hi. And so you want to look at, right, children. That's a seed, right? That's planted. And then they grow up, and hopefully, if you invest in your children, the return on that investment is who they become, right? Yes. And so it's so important to assess, evaluate.
And QR?
QR. It's important to assess and evaluate whether you're getting a return on the investments you're making, whether it's in your money, in your children, in the work that you do. Because just like nature, right? Nature is cyclical, right? The tree grows, it produces fruit, that fruit falls, it flourishes, it fertilizes the earth, and so that then helps to feed the tree and create more trees. Okay, go ahead. All right. So being aware and assessing what are the yields on the investment you're making, the investment of your time, right? When you invest time with people or in service or with whatever you're doing, when you're investing your time, what are you getting from the investment of that time, right? I'm investing time here tonight to share these concepts. Well, what's the return on that investment? I don't know, but I know that if you plant enough seeds, something will grow, right? Some seeds might fall by the wayside. Some seeds might get choked out by the thorns. Some seeds might fall in rocky soil, but some seeds are going to fall on good ground, and that seed will grow and it will produce something. Maybe it'll produce 20%, maybe 40%, maybe 100%. But all I can control is the seeds that I plant. And so I don't focus so much on the yield, right? I do evaluate whether the seeds I'm planting are generating a yield, but I focus on the planting. And it's important to assess and evaluate. So this time of year, right, this is December 21st. We are closing in on 2021, right? The end of 2021 will very soon be in year 2022. And if you look back over the course of this year, assess, did you get a return on the investments that you made this year? What did you accomplish? Did you reach the goals that you set in January, right? Your New Year's resolutions. Did you accomplish those things? Assess and evaluate. And if you didn't, why not? Were you in position, right? Were you in the right environment? Did you have the right mindset to help you accomplish those goals? Assessing those things will help you yield better returns in the future, right? But if you're never assessing where you are versus where it is you want to be, you can't get better. You can't improve, right? If you allow the locusts and the insects to kill your crops and you never do anything to rectify that, to resolve that, then your crops will continue to be eaten up by the insects and the locusts. But if you protect the crops that you're planting, then the chances of them surviving and not getting eaten up by the insects is less likely. So, assessing and positioning yourself to understand what yields you're going to receive. In a little bit, yes, you can go and watch it. Assessing the yields that you want in your life, either in your relationships, in your finances, in your fitness, right? You got to assess. You have to self-assess. Like that's the only way to determine whether you're getting those yields. And the best place to start, of course, is with yourself, right? And we're talking about wealth here, of course, but wealth is not just your finances, right? It's your relationships. I've assessed this year that I feel like I'm a better mother than I was at the beginning of the year. I made some changes, I made some tweaks to improve how I connect and relate with my children. I've set time aside to invest with them intentionally. And so the yield on that is better, I believe, in terms of our relationship. And so self assessment is so important. And as you're wrapping up 2021, setting goals for 2022, make sure that you're taking time to look back and ensure that you did the things that you said you would do. And if you didn't, what do you need to do differently so that 2022 doesn't look like 2021? Uh, so that your yields are better, right? Crops should be growing, right? They should be multiplying. You know, you might start with one tree, but a tree does not return one apple, right? Or one piece of fruit. It provides multiple pieces of fruit, right? Which then can create more trees. And so the same should be in our lives, right? We should be planting seeds. We should be growing ourselves so that we can continue to give in abundance, to be able to share what we've learned and the things that have helped us to grow, to be able to help others to grow. And we can do that in every area of our lives, right? As parents, as I'm not married, but you know, if you're married, as husband and wife, in your finances, like I said, in your fitness, in your faith, right? All the areas of your life should be yielding better results year in and year out. Year in and year out, they should be yielding better results. No child stays, right. Nobody would accept a child staying in the first grade for 10 years, for 12 years, right? We shouldn't stay stagnant. We shouldn't be staying in the same place year after year after year. We should be getting better. We should be yielding better fruit, right? A child goes from learning their alphabet and their numbers to learning how to add numbers, to learning how to read, right? Like they build on that. And unfortunately, we're not conditioned to continue learning and continue to yield better results after we get out of high school or after we get out of college, right? Like the learning stops. But as human beings, we're designed to want to grow, right? Like at least for me, right? It's innate for me to want to get better, for me to want to grow. And so I seek out the opportunities to help me yield better results in my life. Like I said, better relationships with my children and my family. Uh, this Friday, for example, right? I'm going to invest some time with my grandmother to learn her recipes for how she makes certain dishes that I like, right? Because that's something that I can add to my repertoire of things that I can do, and it can add more value, right? I can continue that legacy, I can continue that tradition. Long after she's gone, and she's not going anywhere anytime soon, right? My grandmother's a rock star, but you know, long after she's gone, I can carry that on because I'm taking the time, I'm investing the time with her to learn, right? 84 years of wisdom and, you know, commitment to family. And, you know, all of that goes into the food she prepares, right? Like it just tastes like it's prepared with love. And so I just want to invest some time and be around her to learn and to gain from that. And that's something that I think is so important too, to surround ourselves with the people who can share wisdom with us, who can help us to improve. And like I said, I wasn't going to stay before you all long. You know, of course, when I have my partner here, we can definitely have a great dialogue, and maybe we'll continue this next week because I don't know what I'm gonna come up with for Z. So we might do Y again, right? We'll do a recap of Y or YNZ. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully, you got some insight from the information that I shared, and it adds some value as you're preparing for the next for the coming year. But don't close out the year without looking back, right? Without assessing what went well, what didn't go so well, and what ways that you can improve and get better. And hopefully, you'll have a great 2022 because you've assessed the plan that you have for 2021 and you've made some tweaks to improve that. So we thank you for listening. We hope to see you next week to finish out our series, The ABCs of Wealth. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.